this series of video intends to introduce you from the real number world into the complex number world. Many of us may hold the fixed mindset that complex number have no use at all, and why should I learn it? But in fact, I want to tell you that actually it has of more use and of more importance than real number itself. So because although we cannot represent real objects using imaginary number, and many of us may think we just imagine this number and it doesn't actually exist in the real world. Of course, this is partly true, but actually there are lots of evidence that it exists, but it just requires imagination, and sometimes we can turn it back doing calculation in the complex world and turn it back into real world and get completely different results from if we just do the calculation solely in the real world, in the real number world, I mean. So just like discovery of negative number or irrational number by our ancestor, complex number or imaginary number could not be accepted when it was first discovered. So like in many ancient cultures, people do not believe the existence of negative number because they don't really need it. Same as irrational number, because you cannot actually get pi apples, like or 3.1415 apples, and same with imaginary number. So let's trace the imaginary number from its discovery. It is found by solving quadratic equation. For example, if you solve this quadratic equation, x squared minus 1 is 0, and the solution is x equals to plus or minus 1. However, if you solve x squared plus 1 equals 0, and of course this kind of quadratic equation exists, we cannot deny its existence, and when we try to solve it, we get this situation, x squared equals to negative 1. From our number that we know, we could not find any number whose square is negative. So if you pick positive number square is positive, and negative number square is negative. There is no number whose square is negative. And at this stage, mathematicians discovered a number that fit into this solution, and the number is called I, short for imaginary, and is defined as I squared equals to negative 1, or you can write it as I equals to root negative 1. And so to generalize, if you have root of something, and in primary school, our teachers told us that A must be positive in order for this to exist. If A is positive, we return to our real number world. We can get integers, fractions, or irrational number. But if A is negative, we arrive at the imaginary number world. But upon discovery of imaginary number, we ask, what if we add a real number to an imaginary number and see what happens? The simplest form is 1 plus I, and we write I as, according to its definition, root negative 1. And we realize that we cannot simplify this expression further. So what we do is we need some sort of expression to represent this kind of number. In fact, this is called complex number, and complex number is defined as the sum of real number and imaginary number. So for example, in real number world, we represent all the number in an axis. This is 0, this is 1, -1, and you can even go to infinity. And you can also represent irrational number. For example, pi is about this spot. But you cannot actually represent imaginary number on the real number axis. So what the scientists do is that they build another vertical axis on the real number axis, and it becomes like this. It is called a complex plane, and each complex number can be represented by one single point in the complex plane. So for example, 1 plus I, 1, we find the x coordinate or real number coordinate and real imaginary number coordinate. We get this is our point 1 plus I. But of course, the imaginary part of this number could be 0, and if it is 0, we move on the real number axis and return to the real number world. And if real part here is 0, we are moving in the imaginary number axis. So this is called this form of complex number. It is called Cartesian form of complex number, which involves the complex number. You express a complex number using its real part and imaginary part, and we'll learn other forms of complex number in further down the track. This form of complex number is very important for addition and subtraction of complex number. And if you realize, we have just done the simplest addition of complex number. Of course, real number is complex number. This is complex, although not strictly speaking. And this is complex. We add them together and we get the result, and the result is the sum of two complex numbers. And we'll explore more general condition in the next video.